Now he's going to come to the trait of prishut, which is in chapter 13. And this is going to be zrizut on steroids. Okay, so you see this is how he builds the book. Let's see, correct. Beveur midat ha-prishut, the trait of separateness from the worldly. See, I like the way this book translates it. I'm not crazy about some of the Art Scroll translations over there. Okay, it's good, but I think this book translates it a little bit more to what he's talking about. Basically, the trait of separateness. How does a person separate themselves from the worldly things? He sort of hinted to that a little bit in the previous chapter, in the previous level, and then the Nikiyut, but now he's going to talk about this in more detail. Okay, let's go on. Ha-prishut hi techilat ha-chasidut. He says it point blank. The prishut is the beginning of the journey to becoming a chasid. When a person has arrived at this level, he's already at tzaddik. But that tzaddik, that's Baruch Hashem. We should all be tzaddikim. There's an expectation that every Jew should be a tzaddik. Every Jew should be able to reach the trait of nikiyut. Now, these traits are much, much more difficult. And how a person gets to this is a level of chasidut, which is piety. V'tir'eh shekol ma shebe'anu ad ata, you shall see that everything that we have explained up until this point, hu ma shemitztarech el hadam l'sheyeh tzaddik, it's what's needed for the person to be called to become a tzaddik. Umikan ulahala, from here and going more, hu l'sheyeh chasid. This is so that the person should become a chasid, which is a higher level than a tzaddik. V'nimtza ha-prishut ima chasidut hu kamo ha-zehirut ima zerizut. He's saying exactly what I said before. That the prishut is with the chasidut like the zehirut is with the zrizut, which basically means that this is basically the same type of levels like we see earlier on, but higher levels. Shezeh besur merah v'zeh ba'aseh tov. That one is sur merah, that's the prishut, which is to remove yourself from evil. The chasidut is aseh tov, which is to do something. A chasid does things. A parush separates himself, and a chasid does things. V'neh klala prishut huma she'amru zichron livracha.
Does things.
Okay, someone who's parush, what does he do? He separates from the world, which means he's avoiding putting himself into circumstances where he's in the world in a way that could potentially influence in a negative way. That's avoiding. That's sur merah. Remove yourself from something that is bad. Aseh tov is action. Prishut is an inaction. Chasidut is action.
What would be an example?
Chasidut, if the davening starts at 6:30, you come at 6:15. You can come at 6:30 and it's fine. You're fulfilling the mitzvah 100%, but you come at 6:15. We come at 6 o'clock. Which means you go above and beyond what is asked of you. The action that you do is more than is required by the Torah. And basically the long and short of the separateness is what our sages said, Kadesh atzmach b'mutar. This is what the Ramban explains Kedoshim to you, even though it's interesting, he talks about Kedoshim to you, and here this is really a Chasid. As far as the Ramchal is concerned, the Kadosh is the next higher level. After a person achieves to be a Chasid, then the next level is to be a Kadosh. And that's basically the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels. Right now he is on the 4th level. But he quotes and says, Kadesh atzmach b'mutarlach. How does a person distinguish himself as a chasid? By doing things not doing things that you're allowed to do. Avoiding things that are permitted to you. This is what it means here. V'zoti hora'ata shel hamila atzma. And this is really what the word means, prishut. What does prishut means? Separateness. Rotzel amar, to say, liot poresh umarchik atzmo min hadavar, that he separates and distances himself from things. The hainu she'oser al atzmo, meaning that he forbids for himself individually devar heter, something that is permitted. And his intent here is not to in any way approach something that is forbidden. By a person making themselves a chassid and going above and beyond the call of duty, it's going to be much more difficult for him to be over in a sin, because he's not even coming close to the sin, since he's already restricting himself from things that are permitted. He's not going to be late to davening if he's early. Basically, anything that can cause evil to happen to him, even though now it's not happening bad, what's happening is not bad now. The kosher ken shenora mamash, and he's not doing something bad right now, but he's going to avoid situations that could lead up to doing something bad. Yirchak ve'yifrosh mimenu. He will distance himself and separate himself from it. Vitbonen v'tiresh yesh kan shalosh madrigot. And a person should consider and to look that there are three different levels. Yesh ha'isurim atzmam. There are things that are specifically forbidden, prohibitions. Yesh siyagotehem. There are basically fences around them. Vehem ha'gzerot. These are the decrees, the mishmarot, and the fences, shekazru chachamenu zichronam libracha al kol Yisrael, that our rabbis decreed on all the Jewish people. The yesh haherchekim shemutal al kol parush uparush lasot. And then there are other safeguards that everyone who wants to be parush has to separate himself from these things and to employ these safeguards. Liot kones betoch shelo uboneh gedarim latzmo, which means just because the rabbis didn't make a geder, a fence for him in this particular thing, if he sees that he has a weakness or a propensity to go in that direction, he should make for himself a fence in that area. Just because the rabbis didn't make it, doesn't mean he shouldn't do that himself. And that's the last category he's talking about here. Which means to avoid doing things that might be permitted, that are not forbidden to all the Jewish people, and separate from them. So the person can create a lot of distance between what is forbidden by creating his own fences. V'im tomar, and if you want to say, where do you get that it's okay for you to be adding on to yourself things that are forbidden? Where are you seeing that? Our rabbis of blessed memory said, Lo dayach mashi asra Torah, isn't it enough for you what the Torah forbade for you? Shata ba le'esor alecha dvarim acherim, that you come to forbid yourself things that are permitted to you. This is from Masechet Nidarim, which means sometimes it's not so good when people make Nidarim, they make vows not to do things that are permitted, because then they may not be able to keep those vows. So we see there's a concept of not doing this. So the Ramchal is basically trying to figure out, well, in one place, it seems to be this is a good thing to do. But on the other hand, we have a source in the Yerushalmi that says a person should avoid doing this. So he has to explain. What our sages in their wisdom saw that they felt needed to be forbidden, whatever they felt was necessary for a man to avoid doing sins, they already put them in place. Whatever they allowed and left permitted, which they didn't forbid, because the sages saw that it was okay to permit these things, that there was no reason to forbid these things. If it was something that should have been forbidden, the sages should have done it themselves. Why should we make new things? Decrees that the Chachamim themselves didn't think to put, and you're going to be putting on yourself. We also see that there's really no end to this. This is limitless. A person basically is desolate and afflicted, and gets no pleasure from the world at all. And our sages of blessed memory said, She'atid adam liten din, a person in the future is going to pay judgment lifnei makom, before God, al kol ma shira'u enav velo ratza le'echol mimenu, whatever his eyes saw and he didn't want to eat from it, which means things that are permitted, obviously not things that are forbidden. Even though it was permitted for him and he could benefit from it, the asmechuha akira, and they connected this to a pasuk. V'chol asher sha'alu enai lo atzalti mehem. Whatever my eyes asked for, I did not withhold from them. So we see that there seems to be this conflict in what the Chachamim are saying and what the Ramchal is suggesting here. Okay? So now he's going to give the answer. Hateshuvahi, how do we understand this? What's the answer? Ki aprishut vadai tzarich umuchrach. There's no question about it. A certain level of separation from worldly matters is necessary and required. V'ziru alav hachachamim zichron levracha. And our sages of blessed memory warned us about them. Hu mashe amru is what they said. Kedoshim to you, you shall be holy. Pirushim to you, which basically this is what Rashi says on the pasuk over there, bring from the Sifra, that what does it mean, Kedoshim to you? Pirushim to you. Odamru, they also said, Kol hayoshev b'ta'anit nikra kadosh. A person who basically is fasting is called kadosh. Kal v'chomer min nazir. And how much more so from a nazir? Odamru, it also says, Tzadik ochel osova nafsho. A righteous person eats to sustain his soul, not to sustain his body. Zeh Chizkiyahu melech Yehuda. This is Chizkiyahu, the king of Yehuda. Shayu ma'alim lo al shulchano shnei litrin shel yarak v'chulei. That they would put on the table of Chizkiyahu two litras of vegetables and so on, which was a tremendous thing. 2 bunches of vegetables and a liter of meat was served him every day, and the people mocked him by saying, "This is a king." 2 liters of vegetables is not found in the rabbinical source. It's only 2 liters of meat. What they were saying, how is this a king? Odam Rabbi Kadosh. It also says about Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Shebishat mitato, in the time when he was dying, Zakaf eser etzbeotav ve'amar, he basically held up his 10 fingers and said, Galui v'yadu lefanecha, it is clear and known before you, talking to Hashem, Shelo neheneti min ha'olam hazeh, that I had no benefit from this world, afilu be'etzba ketana sheli, even with the small finger. Why is this important? Because Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was very, very wealthy. He had lots of money and lots of property and lots of things. And so what is he saying? Even though he had all these things on a deathbed, what is he saying? I had no pleasure from this world at all. Odamru, also the Chachamim said, until a person, before a person prays that words of Torah should enter his belly, he should pray that he is eating and drinking, he should pray what? That food and drink not enter them, which means there's almost like a balance here. You have to have a little bit of food and drink, but too much food and drink, a person's not going to be able to retain his learning. Hen kol ele ma'amarim morim beperush. All of these ma'arim that he brought explain clearly tzorach haprishut v'chovah bo, the requirement of the prishut that is needed. But we have to explain the dictums of the Chachamim that seem to say the opposite, which means we have conflicting words from our Chachamim. How do we understand this? We need to understand, to resolve this, that there are many different distinctions, fundamental distinctions from one to the other. Yesh badavar. Yesh prishut shenitztavinu bo. There's a certain level of prishut that we are commanded. Yesh prishut who's hanu alav lebilti kashel bo. And there's another level of prishut that we're commanded not to do that. And this is what Shlomo HaMelech said. Al tehit tzaddik harbeh. Don't be too much of a tzaddik. Which means, be a tzaddik, but don't be too much of a tzaddik. We'll see what he's going to say about this. Now let me explain to you what I consider to be good preshut, good separateness from the worldly matters. We've already explained that all the things in the world are really different tests for mankind. Yes. Now I'm going to explain what is considered to be a good preshut, because clearly he set up a situation where there's a preshut that is good and there's a preshut that is not good. That's what the Chachamim, the conflict with the Chachamim. They're hinting to the fact that there's a certain level of preshut that is good, and there's a certain level of preshut that is not good. And the Ramchal is going to clarify this for us. We've already explained in the first chapter of the book that all of the things of this world are tests for man. Like we've already spoken above, and we've proven with different types of proofs. And of course we know the great weakness of man and his closeness to coming to things that are evil. It's clear that whatever a person can avoid in these types of situations is a good thing to do. So he should be more careful and be protected from ways of evil that he can clearly fall into if he does that. There is no pleasure in the world. There's no pleasure in the world that exists that if a person continues to do in that pleasure, that it's not going to lead him to a certain type of sin. Which means, he's saying the Preshut HaTov is basically, a person has to recognize that there are certain pleasures of the world, that if you overindulge in those pleasures, it leads you to sin. So there's a certain level of restrictions a person, that doesn't mean a person should not get any pleasure from the world. But overindulgence, and a person has to know what is overindulgence in pleasures in the world. Because if a person does that, it's going to lead him to sin. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a 5 towns example. Okay? Person needs a car to go to work. He has a choice. He can buy himself a Honda Accord, spend $30,000. Or he could buy himself a Mercedes-Benz and spend $100,000.
Even 60.
I'll give it 60, but let's pick the higher 100,000. I mean, it's 4 wheels, it's a steering wheel. Okay, the Mercedes-Benz has certain benefits to it. Is it worth $60,000? But not so much how much the person has to work to make that $60,000. Or how much Torah is he not learning because he's spending time working to pay that bill rather than getting a car that, so there we see, surely one could argue that being in a Mercedes-Benz is more pleasurable. Maybe the leather is nicer, the wood trim is nicer, you feel a little bit more, you feel good. Is it wrong to buy a Mercedes-Benz? Is it wrong? I don't know if it's wrong.
I'll have a perfect excuse that he needs for business.
He needs it for business, it's tax deductible. But at the end of the day, the person's got to make the money anyway. And it's one thing if he has so much money that whatever, assuming his charity is up to snuff. But if a person is working, you have to pay for that. And where are you losing from? Time with family, time with the shul time, learning time. Is that you need to do that? You need a Mercedes? There's a simple 5 towns example. It's 5 towns, Brooklyn. It's an American example. All right. Derech mashal. So now he's going to bring a parable. Hamachal v'amishteh, eating and drinking. Kesheniku mikol isurei achila. Once you've cleaned all of what you eat and drink from any type of isur, that's already, we talked about the first couple of levels, where we're not talking about someone who's eating things that are forbidden, or even eating things that might be forbidden, like he said in Nikiyut. Just like if there was a potential poison in something, would you eat it? No, you wouldn't try to justify eating it, because maybe it's batel b'shishim. If it's poison, it's poison. So something that is not kosher, or something that is maybe not appropriate to eat, it might be a kosher, it might not be. You're going to take a risk on eating that? No, you look at it as poison. That's what he talked about in Nikiyut. So basically, regarding eating and drinking, you've already cleaned yourself of any type of isur. So you're not eating or drinking anything that is forbidden. Omnam milui hakeres, but filling the belly, this is not necessarily forbidden. Moshech acharav prikata ol. When a person is filling his belly and is always satisfying himself with indulging with food, what comes after that? Removing the yoke. What yoke? The yoke of heaven. As we see next in Ha'azinu. Vayishman Yeshurun Vayivat. Yeshurun got fat and he kicked. Vayitosh elo asau, and he kicked God. Or like we see before Birkat Hamazon, it says, the Ram levavecha, right after Birkat Hamazon, sorry, v'shachartat asher elokecha. A person's heart becomes up because why? He's eating and drinking and indulging in all kinds of things, and then he forgets about God. Umishte hayayin. There's nothing wrong with drinking wine. I can make an argument that might be healthy to a certain level. There's some people that have a glass of wine with dinner all the time. There's nothing wrong with that per se. Mishte hayayin moshech acharav znut. But the problem is, if a person overindulges in drinking, that leads to znut. That leads to sexual sins, as we see in the Torah. Every example we see in the Torah with alcohol, with maybe the only exception is the sons of Aharon, all led to sexual problems. The daughters of Lot, right? So we see wine has the potential to lead a person into znut. Ush'ar minim ra'im, and other types of bad things that wine can lead a person to. A person says things he shouldn't say, speaks lashon hara, makes fun of people, all kinds of things. If he's a Talmid Chacham, it's a chilul Hashem. If he's behaving in a certain way that's inappropriate. So this is what he talked about in the Nikiyut. So we see that the wine, even though technically it is permitted, it's kosher wine, it's bedatz, it's the best wine possible. But overindulgence in wine is a dangerous thing. Kol sheken shebiyot adam margil atzmo. More so, a person who regularly lisboa ma'achila u'shtiyah, who always every meal he has to eat has to fill his belly so that he feels like he's sustained. If one time he's not going to have enough food, because he's so accustomed to filling himself up so much, when he's missing one day, he's going to have a lot of pain because of it. He's going to feel it a lot more. This is exactly what he's going to say now. And because of that, he wants to avoid a situation where he's not going to have enough food to indulge himself. So what is he going to do? He's going to vigorously throw himself in commerce and business. Vigiyata kinyan, and acquiring things. So his table can always have appropriate food. And so what's going to have to do? He's going to have to work harder. He's going to have to make more money. And from there, he's going to lead him to evil and thievery. Because when a person is always going after money, it's much easier to make money by stealing it than it is by winning it the honest way. And from there, he's going to make swears. He's going to do something, and he doesn't do it. He says things in vain. And all the sins that come after that. And he removes himself. It's not bad enough that he indulged himself in these things and that led him to sin. But also, he's removing himself from worship. He's removing himself from serving God. Umin ha-Torah, umin ha-Tefillah. He's leaving davening early because he has to run to work to be there at a certain time so he can make a good living, so he can sustain his lifestyle. He's got to pay for that ben, so that means he's got to make enough money. That means he leaves to Tefillah 15 minutes before it's done. Or the Shur Torah right after Tefillah, he never stays. He can't stay because he's got to run to work because he's got bills to pay. If you cook for Shabbat, you have leftovers that last you Sunday and Monday most of the time. So a person doesn't have to. But the problem is, sometimes it's easy to make a living. When it's easier to make a living, a person makes the money, and then they don't realize they add to their expenses, they get this, and then they start changing their lifestyle. This is what he's talking about, that he starts indulging in these things, and then sooner or later what happens, he says, all I'm doing is working to support this lifestyle. He doesn't stop and say, what do I need this lifestyle for? When the lease is up, why do I have to get another Mercedes? Maybe I just get a Honda. So people look at me funny that I have a Honda, not a Mercedes. I'll be laughing all the time when I'm sitting in Shir Torah.
But with houses the same way. And house is the biggest.
Yeah.
Is the biggest biggest expense.
Right.
And that's what the biggest is.
Listen, it's hard. A person has to have a house in a Jewish neighborhood, and he has to have a house next to a shul, and they're expensive, and he has to pay taxes, and unfortunately, all the places that we live happen to be in places that are high tax areas. I hear what you're saying. At the end of the day, you're right. There's certain things that are yeshiva tuition's a necessary expense. What are you going to do about that? You can't do anything about that. There's nothing you can do about that. But the things you can't avoid, you do. Paying tuition, you have to pay. There's nothing you can do about that. What are you going to send your kids to public school so they're going to be chas v'shalom around goyim all the time? You're not going to do that. But where you have options, where you have discretion, how much do you spend? Where do you go for vacation? Do you go to the Poconos? Or do you go to, do you go fly across the world to Italy? I mean, come on. If he wouldn't have gotten accustomed to indulging in these things, he would not have had to work to keep up that. Which means little by little these expenses creep up on him. He has more and more things he does. He keeps working like the ever-ready bunny. He just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And he doesn't stop and say, wait a minute. And this is when's a perfect time to say, wait a minute. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim. That's why this book is so good to learn now. It's good to learn all the time, but now a person can say to himself, what am I doing? Do I need this? Okay, there are certain expenses I have. Are all these expenses necessary? Maybe when this lease is up, I'm going to get a car that's $30,000 less. What do I need that for? I need to have a big car, okay, but I have a big family, Baruch Hashem. But what about when some of the kids are older? You don't need a big car. You get a minivan. You need to have an SUV. You know what I mean? You need to have the biggest car around for the one time you're going to take 8 people in your car. You have to drive all day long. You see this little woman inside a Tahoe. A tiny little woman inside a Tahoe. Really? I mean, okay, maybe she takes her kids back and forth to school. I don't know. But a Tahoe? Really? You have to have a car that's that big?
It's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap.
60, 70 grand.
Not cheap. Anyway, that's what he's talking about here. This is all things that are permitted. There's nothing wrong with buying a Tahoe. If you need a Tahoe, buy a Tahoe. But this is where, by the person indulging, this is what he's talking about the pre-shoot.
I'm saying, where do we learn? Where, is there like a formula that we should know if you're making $100,000?
This book.
If you're making $100,000, this should be
this book.
You should spend on your house, let's say 20%.
He just said it. This book. You look at everything, and you say to yourself, "Do I need that?" Yeah. If you need it, you get it. If you don't need it, why do you do it? Do I need it? 4 days a week. Maybe going out to eat when my wife's important for Shalom Bayit. We need to have a little time away from the children, getting a babysitter. We have to do that 3 times a week. Maybe we should do it once a week. Maybe we should do it once every 2 weeks. Okay, I'm not saying chas v'shalom a person shouldn't go out with his wife. When my kids were younger, that was the only way I could, on my mind, when the kids are home, men can't focus. Women have this unbelievable ability. They can focus on 3 or 4 things at the same time. We men don't have that. If we're in the house, we just forget about it, you know what I mean? So for us, it's very important to go out. You have to go out to eat all the time. Maybe sometimes you go out to eat and sometimes you go for a walk. There's all kinds of ways to spend time together that don't involve spending a lot of money and eating. Now, I'm not telling a person should be cheap and not spend on his wife. That's not what I'm saying here. He should give more honor to his wife and spend less on himself. If his wife is going to spend $2,000 for the wardrobe, what does he need? $300-400, a couple of shirts and pants. What does he need? So as a guy, what do you need? You know what I mean? So there's yourself. You should restrict yourself. Your children they're in school, but you also want to teach them. Do they need to have 5 pairs of sneakers? No, 1 pair of sneakers is enough until it wears out. Anyway, this is, again, everybody's got to look at their own situation, but the key is to use this prism. When you read this book, you say, aha, why am I doing this? And that's what he's talking about here. And this is what it says regarding the rebellious son that we read about in the Torah. Amda Torah al sof da'ato. Why do you kill this young man between 13 and 13 and a half years old? You kill him because he stole money and bought wine and some type of Gentile wine and meat. This is what you kill him for? What's the punishment of Ben Sorer Moret? Skila. It's a death penalty. The kid's 13 years old. You're killing him? Really? For that? What do you do? A person steals. You kill him? You don't kill him? You haven't paid. Why is it such a tremendous sin? Because what does it say? Amda Torah al sof da'ato. The Torah looks and says, if he's stealing money from his father now, what's going to happen when he gets older? He's already customizing himself to a higher standard of living. When he gets older, he's going to steal from other people, and he's going to commit all kinds of terrible sins, including murder. That's why you take him now, you kill him now, because he's already leading to a path of indulgence. And what happens? The enjoyments he's used to, this young man, he's not going to be able to get them all the time. So he's going to go on the crossroads and he's going to steal from people. And if he steals from people, every now and then he's going to have to shoot somebody who's going to fight back. V'chen al inyan haznut amru, and specifically regarding sexual sins, it says, Kol haro'eh sotah b'kil kula yazir atzmo min hayayin. Whoever sees the sotah in her depraved state, when her hair is undone and her chest is exposed, he won't have wine. Because what leads the sotah to that? What relaxes a person's inhibitions? Alcohol, wine. So as soon as he sees the sotah like that, what's he going to do? I shouldn't be drinking like that. You will observe that this is a potent strategy that a person can save himself from the Yetzer Hara. When the person is in the middle of performing the sin, it's very, very hard to separate yourself from finishing and doing the sin, because the Yetzer Hara is already winning. When does he have to stop employing techniques? Before he's gotten to the situation where he's sinning. He's far away. Which means then the Yetzer Hara is going to have to get closer to you, and you're already distancing yourself from this thing, so therefore it's harder for the Yetzer Hara to get you to sin. Now he brings up, he says, a person having relations with his wife is totally permitted. There's nothing wrong with that. As far as our views are concerned, a man is allowed to be with his wife when she's not nidah. But we see the Chachamim in the Gemara wanted to make a takana that everybody after have relations with his wife, he has to go to mikveh because of the keri, because the Chacham didn't want the people to be with their wives like chickens. So even though it's permitted, you see already the Chachamim are saying, don't overindulge in sexual relations.
He should also go to mikveh?
He, not her. She's going to mikveh when she doesn't have keri. He has keri.
Yes.
So the rabbis, no. After he has, the rabbis made a decree. The tzibur was not able to stand up to it, so they canceled the decree. But what they did is they wanted to make a decree, and they did it, that any man, before he says Kriyat Shema, after he has relations with his wife, has to go to mikveh. Because he has keri, he has to go to mikveh to clean himself. It was a stringency. What happened? The people couldn't stand up to it because it was just too difficult. So they canceled it. But why did the rabbis do that? Because they wanted to make it more difficult for men to be with their wives all the time. Meaning, don't overindulge in sex. Okay? Talmidei Chachamim should not be with their wives like chickens all the time. Even though sex between a husband and a wife at the right time is permitted. But what happens? He indulges in this pleasure. And from there, when he's getting accustomed to having relations on a regular basis, what happens when his wife is not available to him? He's going to have to find somebody else. And like our rabbi said, Ever katan yesh ba'adam, there's a small limb inside a man. Guess which limb we're talking about? Must be or ra'ev mar'evo saveya. It's beautiful in Hebrew. In English, it's not going to do it justice. A person who satisfies that limb, it is hungry. A person who starves that limb, it is satisfied, which means it's the exact opposite. Usually, when you eat, you feel satisfied. When you don't eat, you feel hungry. This limb is the exact opposite. The more you feed it, the more hungry it is. It's like a dog. The more you give it, the more it eats until it vomits. Okay, if a person cannot, he's overcome, no, that's not what we're talking about here. That's a avon, that's a sin. So if Chas v'Shalom is going to be a situation where he's afraid he's going to be motzi zer alavat Allah, then of course he should be with his wife. But the problem, once again, is the more he involves himself, the more he's accustomed to it. Which means that, for instance, on Yom Kippur, there's no questions there. People don't have sex on Yom Kippur. At least I would hope not. Right? Nobody messes with Kippur. Okay, so, and does it enter your mind when you're sitting in shul? I hope not. So we see that a person can overcome that. Now, that's not to say a person has to spend time with his wife. He has onah. She has onah. She's entitled to intimacy with him. But it's her schedule, not his schedule. Usually not that way. Right? That's the key. Okay. Not only that, but when it's an appropriate time and it's the right time, Amru al Rabbi Eliezer, it says about Rabbi Eliezer, that he would expose 4 inches and he would cover 8 inches, which means even when he was having relations with his wife, somehow he was doing it in a way that he was not exposing himself in front of everything. Now, a person is not supposed to have relations with the wife when you have clothing on. So clearly what this means is he would sanua when he was having relations with his wife, that they were under the covers, he wasn't exposed. And Rabbi Eliezer, basically, it looked like he was someone who was taken over by a demon, which means it's almost like he was being forced to have relations. Now, this is Rabbi Eliezer. You can't imagine people like this today or like this. Plus, if your wife gets a sense of that, she's going to think you don't think she's attractive. And oy vavoy, nowadays, we have to be very careful about that. But she's trying to illustrate how the Chachamim dealt with something that is clearly permitted and something that is Jewish, is holy, but how a person should look at this. That the goal he should have is only to give pleasure to his wife and not have pleasure himself. Rabbi Eliezer was a special guy. Hamabushima kishutim. Well, listen, then that's a separate class. Hamabushima kishutim. Now he's going to talk about clothing and jewelry, ornamentation. Lo hizira Torah al yofyam o al tavnitam. The Torah didn't give any warnings regarding, is it against the Torah for a man to have a Rolex? Absolutely not. And it's not written that nowhere it's against the Torah for a person to have a Rolex or spend $5,000 on a watch and jewelry. There's nothing. There's no prohibition in the Torah regarding these things. But there's restrictions on clothing regarding kilayim. You can't have wool and you can't have linen. Az kulam mutarim, but as long as there's no kilayim, as long as there's no shatnez, it's all permitted. But everybody is very, very clear that wearing luxurious clothing and embroidered apparel, which is a special type of clothing, will lead a person to ga'ava. Because it's how you look. And the better you think you look, the more arrogant you become. And from the ga'ava, the gam has nut yigbolba. And what's going to happen? That's going to lead also to sexual sins. Milvada kin'a ve'ta'ava, also jealousy and also desires. Ve'oshek, and a person basically causing another person to do fraud, to fraudulently try to obtain money. Because all these things are expensive. In order to get that, he has to do various things in order to acquire the money for these things. Rabbis already taught, once, when the Yetzer Hara sees a person raising his heels, smoothing his clothing, umsalsel b'saro, and curling his hair, the Yetzer Hara says, Zeh sheli, this one is mine. So as soon as the Yetzer Hara sees a guy who's got to be dressed to the nines and combing his hair and always has to look good, the Yetzer Hara says, this one is mine. Now we begin to understand why the Hasidim have a certain specific type of dress that's very, very straight and plain and black and things like that.
It still has to look sharp.
But in order to avoid this, a Talmid Chacham has to look sharp, but you don't have to,
Neat.
Okay, neat, but that doesn't necessarily mean ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
Hatiyul v'adibur. What about promenading? Tiyul, taking all kinds of walks. Not we're talking about exercise for health. We're talking about stam, just walking. That dibur and speech. Imeno b'dvar isur. We're not talking about things that you're not allowed to talk about, like lashon hara and rechilut and motzi shem ra. That's not what we're talking about. Vadai din Torah mutaru. It's permitted to talk. A person's allowed to talk. It's like talking about politics. Is there anything wrong with talking about politics? Maybe on Shabbat you're not allowed, but during the rest of what's wrong with talking about politics?
Depending on how much.
Omnam kama bitul Torah nimshach mimenu. If he's talking about politics, you can be sure of one thing. That time he's not talking Torah. And how much did he have to study to know the politics was going on that he should have been learning and not whatever? Kama mina lashon hara, and chos the lashon hara. Kama mina shikarim, and what about lies? Kama mina letzanut, and what about clowning around and joking around? Ve'omer berov dvarim lo yechdal pasha. With lots of words, there won't be any end to criminal behavior. Which means the more a person talks, the more they sin. Unless a person is talking divrei Torah. Klal hadavar. The general principle. Kevan shekol inyanei haolam enam ela sakanot atzumot. We see all of the things of this world are potentially tremendously dangerous, spiritually very dangerous. All the things he just mentioned here are permitted things. They are spiritually dangerous. How is it not praiseworthy for someone who wants to take a step back from these things and remove himself from some of these pleasures? And someone who separates from these things. How is this not praiseworthy? Of course it's praiseworthy. He's avoiding falling into a pit. This is Prishut HaTov, which means avoiding overindulgence in things that are permitted. A person should not take from the world anything, any material that is only what he needs. A person should not take things from the world just because he wants them. He should need them. And he has to be very, very careful because the Yetzer Hara things makes everything that you want that you need it, but you don't need it. You just want it. Okay. This is what Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, which means when he was about to die, what did he take pride in? He didn't take pride in all the money that he had. He took pride in the fact that he was able to admit to God on his deathbed that he never derived any pleasure or benefit from his properties. That he never had a pleasure from this world, even etzba, and that's why Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was able to write the Mishnah. They're not incongruous with each other. Why is it that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was able to write the Mishnah? Because with all this wealth, he was not steeped in Olam Hazeh. He got to be a tremendous Talmid Chacham to the point where he could write the Mishnah.
Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was rich?
Yes, very rich. Even though, and his test was very great, he wasn't an ani, a poor man that didn't have anything, so he had no Yetzer Hara whatsoever to be accustomed to fine things. Basically, he was the president of the Jewish people. He's called Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. Why is it Nasi? Because he was the president of the Sanhedrin. He was from David HaMelech. He was descended from David HaMelech. V'shulchano shulchan melachim, and his table was the table of kings because he had a lot of wealth, and he was also a descendant of David HaMelech. Bechreach likar nesiuto, and of course because he's a king, he's like a president. He has to have certain honor. Uchmamaram zichron l'rachan, like a rabbi said, Shne goyim bebitnech. There are two nations in your belly. Ze Rabbi v'Antoninos. Who's this talking about? Esav is Antoninos. And Yaakov was Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Shelo pasak me'al shulchanam. That nothing was missing from their tables. Either Antoninos, which is he was a Caesar, or Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. V'lo tznon, v'lo chazeret, v'lo kishuin, v'lo bimot hachama, v'lo bimot hagetshamim. Which means on Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's table, he had the ability to have all different types of fruits and vegetables, even if they were out of season. Now we take this for granted because we're able to grow things and move them in. But you can imagine in Israel, how would you be able to get certain things that are out of season? But Rabbi Yehuda Nasi had enough money, he was able to get these things. The Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda Kmo Ken. And also Chizkiyahu, the king of the Yehuda, was also like this. Ushar ha'ma'amrim shezacharti, and all the other things I spoke about. Kulam mekayamim u'morim sheyesh la'adam lifrosh mikol ma shehu ta'anug olami leman lo yipol b'sakarato. All of these things a person should avoid to try to separate himself from the pleasures of this world so he doesn't fall into their danger. V'im tish'al v'tomar. If you're going to ask and say, im ken efo shezeh davar mitzarech muchrach, if separateness is necessary and essential, lama lo gazru alav hachachamim? Why didn't the chachamim make a gezerah? Why didn't they make all kinds of decrees about these kind of things? K'mo shegazru ala siyagot hatakanot shegazru, like they did all the other things that they wanted to prevent the Jewish people from sinning in. Why didn't the chachamim make gezerot on these kind of things? Hinei hateshuvah mevueret pshuta. The answer is clear and simple. Ki lo gazru chachamim gezerah ela im ken rov hatzibur yecholim la'amod ba. The only way the chachamim would make a gezerah is if most of the congregation was able to do it. So these things he's talking about, most of the congregation can't do it. Why? That's what a chassid is. Hopefully most people can get to the point where they can be a tzaddik. A chassid, not everybody has the ability to be a chassid. So the rabbis didn't make decrees on these things, which means they would have wanted to, but they knew that the majority of the congregation could not withstand it. But there are individuals in the congregation that could withstand it. And that's why in the beginning he said to find things and prevent yourself from going into the pleasures of the world. Personally, you make extra things for yourself vis-a-vis and don't worry about what other people are doing. The end Rova Tzibur, okay, so that. And the end Rova Tzibur Yecholim Milot Chasidim. And most of the congregation, most of the Jewish people can't be Chasidim. Halavai, all the Jewish people should be tzaddikim, but they can't all be Chasidim. Aval dai lehem shiyu tzaddikim. It's enough that they should be tzaddikim, which means every Jew should be able to get to the 11th chapter of this book. Achasiridim asher ba'am, but the spiritually elite, not the monetarily elite, but the people who are spiritually elite in the nation. Hachafetzim lizkot lekirvato yitbarach, the ones who are desirous to be close to God, ulzakot bizchutam lekol sharei amon shenit lebam, and to benefit from all the things that are connected to being close to God. Lahem magia lekayem mishnat chasidim. For them it is appropriate to fulfill the requirements of being a chasid. Asher lo yachlu lekayem ha'acherim. What other people cannot do. Hem sidrei prishut ha'eleh. These are the things of prishut that we discussed in this chapter. Ki bazeh bachar Hashem. Because this is what Hashem selected. Shekevan she'i efshar la'umah shetiyeh kula shava b'mala achat. It can't be that the entire congregation is the same in this level, in one level. Ki yesh madrigot, because people are different types. There's all different kinds of levels. Ish lefi sichlo, each person according to his own intelligence. Hinei lefachot yechidei segula, but there should be some special people in the congregation. Yimatzeu, that can be found. Asher yachinu et atzmam hachana gemura, that can prepare themselves in a proper way. Ve'al yidei hamuchanim yizku gam habilti muchanim, and by preparing themselves spiritually, unprepared, even the unprepared can receive loves Hashem, which means because these people are taking these extra things upon themselves, they bring the love of Hashem even to the ones that can't do this, which means they increase the love of Hashem for the whole congregation because of their chasidut. They will benefit from the love of God, because there's a couple of these people living in the community, and the Shekhinah is here because of these people. Everyone in the community will benefit from the Shekhinah, not just the Chassid. And this is what our rabbis would doresh, that there are 4 different types of species in the lulav. Let those that are like the etrog come and do kapara for the arava. Uchvar matzano, almost finished. Ucharva matzano l'Eliyahu zachulatov, that Eliyahu Navi zachulatov, shamal Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, that said to Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi was a very special guy. He was basically a friend to the Malach HaMavet, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. B'maaseh de Ula bar Koshev, with the incident of Ula bar Koshev, kesheheshivo v'lo mishnahi, is it not, am I not in conformity with the Mishnah? Afhu amar lo v'chi mishnat chasidimi. Is Eliyahu then reproached him and said, but is it a Mishnah for the pious? So the Yerushalmi Talmud in Shemot 47a brings a Mishnah that talks about 2 people that were walking on the way, and Gentiles came to them and basically asked for one of them so that they can kill him, and if not, we're going to kill both of you. And then the Mishnah concludes that even if both of them are killed, they should not give a nefesh, they should never give up a Jewish life for this purpose. But if the Gentiles specifically ask for one of the individuals, like Sheva ben Brichi, which is what the Talmud brings up, then they should give him over and they should not all die. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says it's only in a situation where the person that they're asking for was Chayav Mitah, like Sheva ben Brichi, who rebelled against David HaMelech. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Afal pi she'eno Chayav Mitah k'Sheva ben Brichi. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees and says, no, even if he was not Chayav Mitah, they can still give up the Jew. And then there was a situation where the government was looking for a certain individual by the name of Ula bar Kushav, and he went into a certain city in Lod, and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi convinced Ula ben bar Kushav to give himself up to the governmental authorities to save the Jewish community of Lod from destruction. And this was keeping in the law what we discussed before, that the surrender of a specific Jew is allowed if otherwise the entire community is going to be put to death. So based on that, Eliyahu Hanavi, who would regularly reveal himself to Rabbi Yoshua, stopped appearing before him. Rabbi Yoshua was disturbed by this, and he observed a number of fasts. And then Eliyahu came to him and said, shall I reveal myself to someone who's a moser, someone who's an informer? Rabbi Yoshua said, but I'm in conformity with the Mishnah. This is exactly what the Mishnah said. I followed the Mishnah. Eliyahu Hanavi basically said to him, but is this a Mishnah for people who are pious like yourself? Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Eliyahu came and gave him musar because he wasn't living up to his potential. Meaning he was living in the Mishnah of the Tzaddikim. But Eliyahu Navi said to him, you should be in the Mishnah of the Chasidim. You should be above Tzaddik. You're not just a Tzaddik, you should be Chasid. I mean, wow. Prishut hara. So now we've discussed what's Prishut hatov. Now he's going to spend a little bit of time talking about Prishut hara, which was there's a bad type of separation. Hu kederach hagoyim hasichalim. This is the way of the goyim, the foolish Gentiles. Asher lo dai she'enam lochim min ha'olam ma she'en lahem echrech bo. They abstain not only from what is unessential, but they also abstain from things that are essential. Ela shekvar yimneu me'atzmam gam et hamuchrach. Who's he talking about here? He's talking about Christians. Priests, they don't have relations. They swear that they're going to be celibate, even though they're not celibate. This is what he's talking about here. He's talking about the Gentiles. They have this foolish type of prishut, where they don't involve themselves at all in any physical matters. This is not the way of the Torah. The yasru gufam b'yisurim, and they afflict their bodies with all kinds of suffering, udvarim zarim, and all kinds of strange things. Asher lo chafetz bahem Hashem klal, that God does not want, beating themselves and hitting themselves and pulling out their hair, all kinds of other things. Ela adraba chachamim amru, but even more so the chachamim said, asur le'adam shisagef atzmo. It is forbidden for a person to afflict himself, which means physically, to hit himself. Shema yitzarech labriyot, because then what's going to happen? He's going to need people. He's going to need help. The en habriyot merachamim alav, and people won't have mercy because he did it himself. He caused himself to be in a situation where he's not eating and he's losing weight and he's sick, And then he's going to need people to help him, and people are not going to want to help him because he did it to himself. This is the way he says of the Gentiles. Ubinyanat tzedakah amru, and specifically regarding tzedakah, it says, Kol mi shetzarich litov eino notel, whoever is supposed to take charity and does not take charity, harezeh shofech damim. This is as if he shed blood. Neshama shenatati becha hachayeh ota, which means the soul I put in your body, make sure it's healthy. Make sure the body is sustained, which means you cannot do over pre-shoot, which means avoiding overindulgence is good. Restricting yourself from what your body needs is bad. That's what he's talking about, bad pre-shoot. V'amru, kol hayoshev b'ta'anit nikra choteh. Whoever sits in a fasting situation is called a sinner. Ve'amidua b'dila matzeh mitzaer nafshei. One who is unable to withstand such distress, which means if the person, Baruch Hashem, is able to fast, then go fast, no problem. But some people fast and they're not able and they get sick. He's guilty. He's guilty of hurting himself. This is not the way of the Torah. The Hillel Hayaomer, and Hillel used to say, Gomel nafsho ish hased. A kindly man benefits himself. Al achilata boker, by eating breakfast. And he would wash his hands and his face in honor of his maker. Kal vachomer midiyukneot hamelachim. How much more so the logical extension from the practicing of washing the statues of the kings. This is the essential true criterion. Whatever is not necessary regarding things of this world for a person, it is better to separate from them. Anything that he needs, from whatever reason he needs them, because he needs it, if he separates from it, he's a sinner. This is a true principle. But the details of the particular situation is left to one's own personal discretion, which means everybody has to know themselves and his own intelligence. And according to a person's intelligence, he is praised. There's no way to mention all the details because there's many details. And a person's mind cannot really contain all of them. Everything in its proper time. Wow. Any questions? Baruch Adonai Olam, Amen ve'Amen.